Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. So I'm sitting in the movies tonight with my wife and my daughter watching that new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Knock at the Door, and I hated it. And my mind's wandering, and it occurred to me, how about doing a video on artists I discovered, new artists I discovered when they first came out. In other words, I bought their debut album literally weeks after it came out, and they may not have been that popular at the time, so I was right there at the beginning of their career. And funny, I have over 5,000 albums. There's not that many that I had. And actually, it's all in my computerized database, so I could just pop it in. I know exactly when I bought the stuff and when the albums were released. So it's pretty fascinating for me because some of my favorite debut albums, like the Zebra album, I picked that one up like a year and a half after it came out. Joe Jackson's first album, Cyndi Lauper, Pearl Jam, Smithereens, Blackmore's Night. I was shocked. I thought I got that exactly when it came out. Nope, I got that about a year after it came out as well. So there's still a lot that are not going to be here that I picked up. It was still their first album. They didn't have another album out. Oasis is another one. I had definitely maybe before the What's the Story came out. But that doesn't count. I had to get these albums when they first came out. There's about 22 of them that I picked out of my favorites. So that's the theme. Favorite debut albums I picked up right when they came out. I'm going to show them to you. And think about the ones that you picked up. But be honest, because you may be surprised. Maybe you picked them up much after the fact. Like I said, Get the Knack's another one. I picked that up a year or two after it came out. So anyway, let's get started. Now, I'll start here in alphabetical, and then I'll hit some of the ones that are really, really favorites of mine. But I love or really, really like all of these. So let's start with this one. This is a band I talk about a lot, Antigone Rising. Now, they had a couple of independent releases, and I do have those as well. But this was their first major label, and I have like multiple different versions of this. As I had said on other videos, this is from the ground up. If you don't have this album, it's a terrific record. It's just great. Check She's Not Innocent. You'll love it. This is just long shot. Great album. Don't Look Back. Personal favorite for me. Antigone Rising from the ground up. This was one, and this is a latter version that I picked up, a deluxe edition, but I picked up Kogo. Kobi Kailat's debut album was a great record. I think it's a really terrific record. Bubbly was the hit, but it's all good. If you like light, folky, listen, her father was involved with Fleetwood Mac, so there's some good genes there, and she's the real deal. Really fine record. This is one I was particularly proud of. I discovered Sheryl Crow when this album really first came out, long before All I Want to Do hit as a big hit. I just loved the look of it. I saw ads for it in Pulse magazine, the Tower Records, I think, and I just took a shot. Thought it was great. And the funny thing is, I don't really like All I Want to Do. I didn't even like it then. But there's a ton of really great stuff. I thought Strong Enough was incredible. Run Baby Run, Leaving Las Vegas. It's a really, really excellent record. And the mark of a great artist, she just got better and better after that. Sheryl Crow. Another one I discovered pretty much right away was Dido. And her debut album was No Angel. And this is another terrific album. It still sounds really good. I picked up all of her other albums when they came out, but none of them really approached the greatness of this album. So, Here With Me was actually the theme song of a TV show, Roswell. Great album. This was one that I picked up when it came out, too. It was a huge hit, of course, Foreigner and Mick Jones and the Boys. And they were a supergroup, basically, as half American, half British, guys from Spooky Tooth and King Crimson, and no doubting the greatness of this album. People may not remember, they're one of the biggest selling albums in Atlantic Records history, and they also got better. Double Vision was even a better album, I thought. This is another album that I picked up right when it came out, and I thought it was terrific. It was actually my #1 album of the year. It came out. Jet, Get Born. Remember all three of those songs right there with the hype stick. Are You Gonna Be My Girl, Cold Hard Bitch, and Look What You've Done. But this whole album from beginning to end is just amazing. Great stuff from Jet. Then they released the second and third album that weren't as good. Picked up on these guys, Vivid, Living Color, the band. They had opened up for the Stones, saw them multiple times at Shea Stadium with them as the opening band, and they were good. Good band, good solid record. Vivid from Living Colour. Picked that up when it came out. This may be surprising. I was in college, but the first Madonna album, yep. This was a big hit out of the box pretty much automatically, and back in those days we'd go to clubs in Saratoga, and Madonna was all over the radio, Lucky Star and Borderline and Burning Up and Physical Attraction. Not necessarily you'd think my kind of music, but it was a really good record, and I really liked it. And then she got better. Like a Virgin, the second album, I thought was amazing. I even liked the third one, True Blue, and Like a Prayer was great. After that, I kind of pretty much gave up on her. But Madonna. Now this was an interesting album. This is the second version of it that I bought, The Thorns. Sort of a supergroup, really starring Matthew Sweet and Sean Mullins and Pete Droge. But Matthew Sweet, the big name. But this is a great, great album. And I like this version because it's got an acoustic disc of it and the electric disc. I thought it was going to be a huge hit, and it wasn't. But not because the music's not great. The Thorns. And this was one that my friend Sandy turned me on to. Kim Wilde. The very first Kim Wilde album. This was just terrific. Everybody knows Kids in America. And maybe Checkered Love. But this whole album is great. You'll Never Be So Wrong, Water on Glass, Our Town, Everything We Know. It's got good textures, and even though it's kind of electronic, you know, that 80s music, it sounds great. And even her second album, Teasers and Dares, was a terrific record as well. Kim Wilde. Which leaves these guys, but before I get to these, here's some really old original Alan Rosenberg. This is a band I talked about on some of my other videos. You never heard of them. Less Variations. This album is like from 1974. I got tons of press ads from Cream and Circus Magazine, and they were a French-Moroccan band, kind of like, looked almost like the version of the Rolling Stones in a sense, but nothing ever sounds like these guys. It's rock and roll with a Moroccan flavor, and if you want to check out on YouTube, I don't know why, man, you're going to love it. And then they do some interesting things like Cosba Toddler as an instrumental, and All I Want to Know, and Sanglat's Tears. Really cool stuff. I still listen to this album to this day. It's a personal favorite. Less Variations. From 74. And this is like from 1970. And so this is I started my database in 73, so this is pre my database. But anybody remember Yellow River by Christie? Jeff Christie, this was like a #1 hit. I have the 45 too. Yellow River is in my mind. This is a great album, which I'd love to get on CD one day. Yeah, Yellow River, this is the original from 1970. And this is a guy who I saw open up for the Kinks at the Beacon Theater and went out and picked up his album immediately this Father's Day. And Peter Himmelman, I've mentioned him in a couple of videos. If you want to check him out, listen to a song called Tremble. This is a good album, not a great album, but he got better with Synesthesia and other albums after that. From Strength to Strength's a great album, but Tremble, that was another album picked up right when I heard it. Which leaves the biggies in no particular order. Man, did I fall in love with this album when it first came out. A Jim Carroll Band and Catholic Boy. And you probably know the song, Only People Who Died, Only People Who Died, all my friends, and they died. Kind of Lou Reedish and punkish. But man, every song in this album is great. It's a little bit forgotten, except for People Who Died. But I don't know, it's such a good album. Every song, Day and Night's really good. City Drops Into the Night. I still listen to this album. Catholic Boy from the Jim Carroll Band. And Jim Carroll, I actually saw him in concert on that tour. Here's another one. Tracy Chapman. Boy, this debut blew me away. It was a huge success, and it's a perfect album. There's not a bad song on this album, for sure. Talking About a Revolution, Fast Car, Baby Can I Hold You. Love this album. Picked it up right when it came out. Tracy Chapman. As is this, the Go-Go's. Now, I don't want to get into a whole debate about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If anything, I'd put this album in the Hall of Fame. This debut Go-Go's album, and that's the hype sticker from the vinyl that I originally had. is a perfect album. And I've said that. Not a bad song on this album. It's perfect. It's an amazing, amazing album. So this particular album deserves all the accolades that it gets. Beauty and the Beat from the Go-Go's. And another album, my friend Sandy turned me on to, the Indigo Girls. Now, I know this was really their second album, but not really, because Strange Fire was an independent release that got re-released after this album. We actually saw them at the Beacon Theater in Manhattan, and I didn't really want to go because it was going to be acoustic. And I'm like, can they really pull it off? One of the greatest concerts I ever saw. And Michael Stipe from R.E.M. came out. This is an incredible debut album. Check out Kid Fears. And it's got, I mean, every song on this album is great. I just love this album. Fantastic. The first Indigo Girls album. Where are we? Well, if you were a child of the late 70s like me, in high school or whatever, everybody had the Cars' first album. Again, a perfect album. You know, shockingly, with all the hits on this album, I'd have to look it up on my database. It didn't chart that high, but obviously it sold millions and millions. But, I mean, look at the track listing. Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed. I mean, every song is great. Every song. You're All I've Got Tonight. The Cars debut. I had mentioned this in other videos. I discovered these guys with this album. New Miserable Experience. This is a deluxe edition, but I got the original when it first came out. I think this is also like a perfect album, and it deserves the deluxe edition treatment because it's an amazing album. Now, there's the original in there. New Miserable Experience from the Gin Bossins, who I saw last summer as well. Let's keep going to what I would say the big three right there. These would probably be the biggest for me of all time. One of my favorite bands of all time is Dire Straits, and I remember when this first debut album came out, man, nothing ever sounded like it. Nothing still sounds like it. And this album's dark and moody and not commercial, and he didn't make it to be a gigantic hit. I don't think Mark Knopfler did anything to ever make it as a huge star. It just kind of happened. But this album just flows so well. It's moody, jazzy, Down to the Waterline, Water of Love, Setting Me Up. I love every song on it. Again, it's not a commercial album. It's dark. But Sultans of Swing, which if I ever do a video on my favorite guitar solos, would be way the hell up there. Dire Straits and their debut album, which I picked up right away. I go next with Boston. What can you say? The whole world picked this album out when it came out, and it deserved it. Nothing still sounds like it. It's a perfect album. I think it's timeless. Nothing sounded like it then. Nothing sounds like it now. And more than a feeling, the opening, you still hear it on the radio, and when it comes on the radio, you can't turn it off because it's absolutely the most perfect. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. It's, you know, it just always sounds good. It never sounds overplayed. But every song in this album became a classic, and he just never, nobody could duplicate this album. It's just an amazing record, and this is the digitally remastered version, which is really sweet. So Boston, which leaves my number one, probably most influential to me, debut album that I picked up right when it came out. And I was right on the horn with these guys, the Pretenders. And I saw the original band multiple times. I think I saw stories about them in Trouser Press, and I just had to check them out. And I have multiple versions of it. This is a deluxe 2 CD edition. That is a box set. But when you put that on the vinyl turntable and you heard Precious, and she goes, "Fuck off!" I was like, oh my God, is that hot? But The Weight and Stop Your Sobbin', which is a cover, and Kid and Private Life and Brass in Pocket and Mystery Achievement and Tattooed Love Boys. Debut albums don't get any better or more powerful than this. And the fact that I picked it up before they even were famous, I was right on with that one. So there you go. It's about 22 of my favorite debut albums that I got right when they came out. I was on the ground floor of discovering these bands when they were brand spanking new. It doesn't happen too often because I am not a new adopter. It takes me a long time to discover somebody. But these guys, right at the spot. So I'd love to hear some that you heard when they first came out. And be honest, you know, because if I added stuff that I heard like a year or two later after it came out, my list would be a lot bigger. But you know, what albums did you buy when it first came out from a new artist and they hadn't made their reputation yet, but you got right on the ground floor with it? I'd like to know. If you're new to my channel, or if you're not new but you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. Help my channel to grow. I'd greatly appreciate it. I hope you check out my other videos. I have another video of my favorite debut albums, and I show 200 albums. So before you say, where's this, remember what the point of this one is. I discovered these when they first came out. And part of that is just age, luck of the draw, you know, being around at that age when it first came out. So that's about it. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. Please check out my other videos. Please hit subscribe. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.